I realized it takes no talent, no skill to be a great teammate. It takes no talent, no skill, no ability. Being a great teammate is a decision. It's a decision to think about the we before the me. It's a decision to think we, us, and our. It's a decision to think, what can I do to help the we succeed, instead of focusing on what am I getting out of this? Because whether or not I get anything out of this, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because we all hope it's part of enjoying the journey. We hope to get something out of it. Maybe part of that is our own individual contributions. But it shouldn't matter. If the team wins, we all win.
All right, so folks, I am super excited and amped up about the conversation today. We're here with a good friend of the firm and so many people here in Michigan, Austin Hatch. Austin is a very successful young man in business. He's an entrepreneur. He's an inspirational speaker to so many different companies across the country today in this chapter of his life. And Austin, I just wanted to thank you so much for taking time this morning to be with us from Brutus, Michigan on Burt Lake, where I know that you're with Abby at her family's cabin. And so thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you very much, Manny. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you, and I look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much. And look, when Chad and Libby and I were thinking about, hey, we're going to continue to bring the very best of the best, the 1% of the 1% in buckets like vision, hustle, grit, and gratitude. I have to tell you, Austin, especially those last two, grit and gratitude, that is exactly the way I have experienced you over the last 3 years since my move to the state of Michigan. Talk to us and tell us a little bit about the gratitude component. Take us back to where you think that foundation for this enormous amount of gratitude that you take with you every day of your life to put in your best effort. Tell me about where the foundation for gratitude started from and take us through that story.
Yeah, well, I think, from an early age, I was taught to be grateful and be thankful for things. And I know how fortunate I am, not a past tense, how fortunate I am to have the life that I do, to live in the greatest country in the world. And, there's so much we're grateful for. There's a lot of things that are, maybe would give us a reason to be ungrateful, or, things to get worried about, or things to focus on that could bring us down, things that are beyond our control. But I've always been one to focus on the positives and look at the glasses half full. And I think that in general, in life, in business, in sports, in marriage, in any context, the positive people, the positive teams, the positive leaders are generally the winners most of the time. I mean, I'd like to think that, I'm not going to say positivity will make us win every time, but I think it'll definitely help us create a little bit of a competitive advantage versus people who are negative. So.
Yeah, I love the way you just said that. Positivity as a competitive advantage to what we've set out to do, whether it's that day, that week, that month, or that lifetime. That really resonates with me. And Austin, look, I mean, your story, gosh, it's just such a unique story, and it's so powerful. So many people that listen into our podcast, they're already familiar with it. Let's say for those that are not, take us through 3 to 4 of the most defining moments throughout your life that have put you where your feet are today.
Yeah, so I was born to an incredible family in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Really had the kind of upbringing that most kids would dream of. My mom was the life of the party wherever she went. My sister was a ballerina. We had such a bright future ahead of her. And my little brother, I picked on him a little bit, but it was all healthy though. We had a great brotherhood, a great friendship, and life was good. And my dad was a doctor, practiced pain management in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and was kind of a model of what a great physician should be. The way he cared for his patients, more so than just from a medical perspective, but as people as well. And tragically, on September 1st, 2003, we were flying back home from my grandparents' place in northern Michigan, and the aircraft, tragically crashed as we were preparing to land. And my mom and my siblings, my mom, my older sister and younger brother tragically passed away. And my dad threw me out of the plane to save my life. And yeah, but we had we grieved our loss and found a way to keep moving forward and found a way to lean on each other and focus on the positives, and try to, while it would never diminish the loss that we had experienced, but we focused on each other. We knew that how we responded to adversity. Yes, and tragically we lost them, but we knew that we had an opportunity to honor them by how we responded and by how we kept living and how we continued to move forward. Obviously, it was tough, but we just did our best to honor them every day. And then my dad was remarried a couple years later to an incredible woman who had 3 kids of her own. We had a great blended family, and that restored some normalcy in my life. And I started to work really hard on my basketball skills. It's kind of an escape, but also just because I love the game, and I was passionate about it, and it didn't feel like work. I was working hard because I loved it. And fortunately, the work started to pay off. And then on June 15th, 2011, Coach Beeline offered me a scholarship to play at Michigan, which was always my dream school. My mom went there. Both my grandpas went there. My dad did research at Michigan before going to medical school at Wake Forest. So it was really my dream to play at Michigan from an early age. And the door had opened to go to Michigan. I got the opportunity to go there and play, which was a dream come true for me. But then, 9 days after that, on June 24, 2011, we were involved in another plane crash, tragically, that claimed the lives of my dad and my second mom. I never really used the term stepmom. She was my mom and loved me like I was her own. And obviously, it would never replace my mom. But she knew that, and she said that. She told me that, but she just told me she was going to love me the way that she would love anyone, or the way she would love her own, and she did. But tragically, they were both killed, and I almost lost my life as well. I had a long list of injuries: a traumatic head injury, a punctured lung, broken ribs, broken clavicles, a fractured pelvis, all kinds of things, broken sternum, like all kinds of things are broken. More things broken than I even know, probably. And I was in a coma for about 2 months, and then I came out of it, had to learn how to walk and talk and eat and basically how to live my life again. But I made the decision early on that while I couldn't control the event that happened, none of us had control over the adversity that presents itself, usually at least. But I knew I had complete control over how I chose to respond. And I looked at that as, okay, you know what? I was working to be the best basketball player that I could be before this. I now have the same mentality, but now I'm going to make the best recovery that's ever been made by a level 7 traumatic brain injury that's ever been made in the history of the world. And I thought, you know what, like we talked about before, if we're going to go, why not go big, right? And if we're going to go after this recovery, why not go all in? If I'm not going to go all in, why go at all? So, it was a tough road, but I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful for the lesson that I learned along the way, and now I'm grateful for the opportunity it's given me to inspire others in sharing a message about overcoming, but more importantly, thriving in the midst of adversity. So.
Just such an incredible journey that you've had. I've never heard a story like that before in my life. Just the man that you've become and the way you present yourself has just consistently impressed me. And one of the things it makes me consistently ask myself, and I even ask of our young children in Ava and Atlas, is, did you give your best today? Did you give today everything you had? And I think about that because I think about how much your story is a reflection of you giving it your maximum on a consistent daily basis. Tom Bilyeu talks about that. He talks about that on Impact Theory a ton. And he talks about how that's where greatness comes from. It's maxing out and giving it everything you had. Where do you think at a young age, when you began to have a vision for your life of playing basketball at the University of Michigan, because that was like a childhood dream, right? I mean, this goes back to when you were a little boy. Talk to us about, how was that vision inspired? Who inspired that vision? Who was really behind that? I've seen videos of you playing a lot as a young boy with your father at home, in the driveway. I've heard you tell the story many times. Where did the vision come from, and who taught you the work ethic?
I think the vision came from just loving the game. And, it wasn't something that my dad set for me. It wasn't something that he told me that I should do, or told me that, also it'd be really cool if you played basketball in college. It'd be really cool to be a father of a college athlete. He obviously didn't say that. But I think I just love the game so much. And so I think, because it's kind of like we were saying, if I was going to work at something, why not go big? Why not set a lofty goal? And you know what? The thing about setting goals is, like, I think there's a saying that says one of the worst things that you can do for yourself is set your goals too low and achieve them, right?
Yes.
And so I thought, why not set a lofty goal? And even if I don't achieve it, I'm going to fall in love with the process of working to achieve it. And I think that's a really important thing. My dad always told me I would get really caught up in the whole recruiting process. And when I started to get recruited, I was like, Dad, why won't they just offer me a scholarship? I just want to commit to a school and know where I'm going, and just have this recruiting stuff behind me, because it's kind of stressful. I got friends of mine who had already committed to schools, and I kind of got a little jealous. And he said, Austin, man, just enjoy the journey. And I think that's so important, because in any context, in whatever we're doing, I think it's so important to enjoy the journey, enjoy the process of getting to where we want to go. So yeah, I think once I started to work hard at basketball and it started to get pretty good, and I could kind of tell that, I had the possibility of playing in college. Once I could see that there was a potential opportunity, I just put my head down and went full speed ahead, and went full throttle. Because it's like, like airplanes, when we take off on the runway, you don't go half power. If you're going to take off, you got to go full throttle, right? So I thought, I'm trying to metaphorically take off, and you can get to the place of where college coaches can see that I can maybe help their teams win championships. But if I'm going to get there, I'm going to have to go all in. So went all in, and yeah, but I think the most important thing is I loved it. It wasn't work to me. And I think we got to find something we love, and have people in our life who can push us and hold us accountable. Because my dad was never he was never the helicopter parent. You know what I mean? He was yes. Hands off, and he would give me all the resources, all the, everything that I needed to get to where I wanted to be. But he wouldn't do it for me. He would say, if you wanted to go to this camp, we go to a father-son camp every summer up until I was in about 8th grade. And because he was a really good athlete back in the day as well. And we played one-on-one every night in the driveway. And yeah, but I think the biggest thing I learned from him, the work ethic. He was a doctor, a pain management physician in Fort Wayne. Worked really hard. Would see 50 or 60 patients in a day, come home, have dinner, play me in one-on-one in the driveway after dinner, almost every night. And he never let me beat him. He didn't let me win until I didn't start beating him until 8th grade. So I think it's like learning how just the work ethic he taught me, and kind of instilling the mindset in me that nothing's given, everything's earned. I think it was just really important. So
yeah, I mean, in such a little window of time, you just said so many things, and I'm obsessed about the last one you said, which is, hey, nothing is really given; it's all earned, right? I love the comment about just putting in the work. I love the comment about, hey, you have to take a minute to try to enjoy the journey and the experience. I mean, there's so much going on around you. I could see why a father would want their son to almost have their head on a 360-degree swivel, really just taking it all in as they're going through this unique moment in their life, because we don't get to hit backwards on the play button, right? And so that was really powerful. I really appreciate you saying that. I want to go back to where you were going with kind of your youthful urgency in choosing a school. I want to go back to that for a quick second, because I've heard this story many times. And as you know, Libby and Chad, they do such a great job of getting us ready for these conversations. Libby reminded me of the story that I had heard before, where Coach Bayline, verbally told you that, they were going to offer you, and he was excited for you to go to Michigan. And how long did it take for you to respond that you were in?
Well, so on June 15th, 2011, about 1:45 in the afternoon, it was an odd time of day for Coach Bayline to call. We usually talked at night, about once a month, because that's all you could talk per NCAA guidelines, and he never broke any rules like that. He even told us, even told people on the staff, he said, if you get accused of a recruiting violation, if you get accused of anything like that, said you're fired. I want nothing to do with it. And so he's as clean. It was clean. Everyone knows that, obviously. But we usually talked at night, about once a month. And he called him at 1:45, which was an odd time of day because I figured he was busy at the gym, working on things. And he called and then he said, "Hey, Austin, the coaching staff and I have watched you play a lot. We love what you have to offer. As a player, love the kind of guy you are as well. I'd like to offer you a full scholarship. Coach, I'm coming. I don't need to I don't need to come see the campus again. I've seen enough. I'm coming." So, yeah, to answer your question, I think I definitely interrupted him when he was telling me off. So, yeah, he didn't fully offer me. He was about halfway through telling me he was offering me, and I said, "Coach, I'm coming." So
I love that. So let's flip the script for a second, right? My dear friend and one of my business partners, who well or getting to know well, Paul Davis, played somewhere else in Michigan, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And look, I am such a fan of the coach you played for, but I would say in a healthy way, I'm borderline obsessed about Coach Izzo. The way I see him serve and lead those young men over the last several decades has just been so inspiring to me. And even from my time in Chicago, I'd probably watch a little more Spartan basketball than one would think. What if it had been Coach Izzo? Because I know your mother and your grandfather went to University of Michigan, correct?
Yeah.
What if it had been Coach Izzo? Would you have ended up being a Spartan if he had been the first one to offer?
Yeah, but I wasn't good enough to go to Michigan State. I wasn't good enough at the time. The thing about Coach Bayline is he recruits guys who are underdeveloped, and he sees a lot of potential in, like my teammates, like Spike Albrecht, right? Who people thought he was a manager on the team. And then he comes to the national championship game and has 20 points in the first half, right? So
right.
Coach likes to recruit kind of the underdog guys that that work hard. He likes guys that are good shooters. I was a pretty good shooter at one point in my life, and yeah. But I think I'm sure Coach Izzo is a great guy. One of my best friends actually is a guy named Russell Bird, who played for Coach Izzo. Russell was actually in our wedding a few years ago.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and so Coach is a great guy. They have a great program there, and it's a great rivalry. And I'm sure Coach Izzo would have reacted to my situation very similarly to how Coach Bayline did. So
yeah, both absolutely first class men, and some of the all-time greats in college basketball. Easily, Michigan's blessed to have both of them. So that was great. I was always curious because I knew you had this youthful urgency to commit and set your plan and say, this is where I'm going. And I was just really curious what would have happened had it been somebody else to ask you first. So that's great. I really appreciate you taking us through that story.
Yeah.
Talk to me about where you're at in life today. And I say this from the perspective that a young man who's walked in your shoes, which I know of no other young man ever, that has walked the path you've walked. There are so many things, Austin, that I can tell from the outside looking in you could be doing today to serve, to lead others, and to make a tremendous impact and build a wonderful legacy. Yet, you've dedicated your life, at least in recent years, to telling your story as a catalyst to adjust people's perspective, the vision they have for their life, the amount of work ethic and hustle they put into attacking their vision, and doing it with volcanic levels of grit and gratitude for the opportunity and the journey. Why did you choose that?
Well, I believe that, my life story, my life experiences have given me a unique opportunity upon which I can add value, add a lot of value to organizations across the country. And so the odds, according to an MIT statistician, the odds of surviving one plane crash with at least one fatality involved, the odds of surviving that is 1 in 3.4 million. 1 in 3.4 million. So that's pretty slim. You wouldn't really bet on that. And so I tragically, but fortunately, I survived 2 of those. So using my prestigious Michigan education, 1 in 3.4 million times 1 in 3.4 million is 1 in 11 quadrillion 560 trillion. So that's 1 over a 14-digit number in the denominator there. So that's pretty slim. So I shouldn't be here. If you from a a realistic standpoint, from a statistic perspective, I should not be alive. I shouldn't be. But well, I guess if I am, I should be, right? And so I look at that as, you know what, if I have the experiences that I do, I probably am meant to do something unique, something different. And, I just feel so blessed to be able to share some of the lessons I've learned the hard way, from my road to recovery, from the second accident, especially, the accident where I suffered, a lot more significant injuries and was almost killed. Excuse me there. But yeah, so I feel so blessed to now be in a position to, be able to share things from a unique perspective. And, I look at, there's a quote that says, if you learn to use it right, the adversity you face can buy you a ticket to a place you couldn't have gone any other way. And I think about that, and, maybe I might amend that quote a little bit and say, your response to the adversity you face can buy you a ticket to a place you couldn't have gone any other way, because the adversity happened. And when I travel the country, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of great opportunities to speak to a variety of organizations across the country. And hopefully we'll continue to grow that business, grow that platform in the years to come, after this COVID stuff passes. But if I use my experiences the right way, because I can share things from a unique perspective. Fortunately, very few people have been through what I have. But I look at that, and that's a great opportunity to provide a lot of value for other people. And speaking, I do it for myself, I do it for our family, but I enjoy it. But I do it more to provide value for other people, because I look at the lesson that I'm learning. If I can share maybe if I go speak to a room of, I don't know, maybe it's 400 or 500 people, and if I can share something to that audience that hits home with one person in the room, one person out of that 400 or 500 people, or however big the audience is, if it hits home with one person and helps them overcome, helps them persevere, helps them keep moving forward in the face of opposition, pain, rejection, whatever it may be, if something I share that day hits home with one person, I think I've done my job. So yeah, I just feel so blessed.
And I heard you say, if you could provide value a few times. And I've heard you say that many times through recorded conversations and other times that I've been able to hear you speak. We at our firm, we talk a lot about the nobility in sales, and how as long as we are unflinchingly committed to provide value to the other person, there should be great nobility and privilege and humility that we feel, and confidence that we feel in serving those individuals through this profession. And I feel that way, right? And that I think that way. I love it when I hear you talk about providing others value. I think back to this great vision you had as a young man to play at the University of Michigan. You then get there after 2 unbelievably traumatic experiences in your life. And I would guess from your comments that I've heard before that you didn't necessarily have the collegiate basketball career you had dreamt of as a little boy. But I constantly hear from others what a great teammate you were. Connect those two for me. A great teammate after this enormous adversity, a somewhat fragmented reality to the dream you had since a little boy. And yet you're just unflinchingly committed to bringing value to your teammates and to your team and to help them win. And that's how everybody remembers you. Talk us through that.
Yeah. So, I think, first of all, I had this vision when I committed on June 15, 2011. I was playing at a pretty high level, and Coach Beeline saw I had a future helping his teams win championships on the court. And I hope to. Going to be able to play, or I didn't know how much I'd play, but I hope to have a good, make a good contribution to the team on the court. And unfortunately, the injuries I suffered in the second accident that almost took my life prevented me from, having that role that I hoped of having, that I look forward to having. But it takes, and so I lost a lot of my athleticism, a lot of my explosiveness and jumping ability, and I had my head injury. I couldn't think the game fast enough to compete at the college level. But I realized it takes no talent, no skill to be a great teammate. It takes no talent, no skill, no ability. Being a great teammate is a decision. It's a decision to think about the we before the me. It's a decision to think we, us, and our. It's a decision to think, what can I do to help the we succeed, instead of focusing on what am I getting out of this? Because whether or not I get anything out of this, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because we all hope it's part of enjoying the journey. We hope to get something out of it. Maybe part of that is our own individual contributions, but it shouldn't matter. If the team wins, we all win, right? And so I think that, I realized that, and I realized that I wasn't going to have the role that I hoped to have originally. And so I just had to shift my perspective a little bit. I had to shift I don't want to say that had I not gotten injured, I would have been a selfish teammate, because I'd like to think I was a good teammate for most of my life, all my life. But after the accident happened, I thought, okay, well, you know what? If I can't contribute the way I hoped to originally, the way I plan on, I'm going to contribute by being the best teammate that I can be. I'm going to do my best to be a first team All-American teammate. Maybe I wasn't, maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But see, there aren't many first team All-Americans in the country. There's maybe 10 in the whole NCAA. Out of the 300 teams, there's, so out of the, the 3,000 college basketball players there are very few first team All-Americans. But we can all be first team All-American teammates. It's just a decision to focus on what the team needs. And, Coach Schembechler, I'm sure most of the listeners are familiar with this. Hopefully, maybe all the listeners are Michigan State fans, which is okay. But Coach Schembechler taught, he said, the team. He said, everything you do, you should take into consideration what effect it has on your team. I realized that, while I wasn't a contributing player on the team, a rising tide can lift all boats. If I fill my role to the best of my ability, there's no way that can't make a positive impact on the team. Now, look, maybe the guys like Karis LeVert or Mo Wagner or Duncan Robinson, who are stars of the team on the court, maybe they had a bigger impact on the team. But I knew that if I brought a positive attitude, if I worked as hard as I could in practice, if I ran sprints as hard as I could, despite the fact that I finished last. Say I ran 1,000 suicides in college, I finished dead last every single time. Every time. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I ran as hard as I could. And maybe if my teammates saw me giving it all I had, maybe that'd make them want to give a little extra too. I have no idea. But if we're giving it all we got, how can that not be encouraging, motivating for the rest of the people on the team? So I just look at it as, what an incredible opportunity I had to be on the team at Michigan, especially given where I came from. I'm so blessed to have made the recovery that I did, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without the efforts, contributions, thoughts, prayers of many people across the country that I don't even know that prayed for me, prayed for my recovery. Those people were on the team that helped me get better too. And I felt that I owed it to those people, and I owed it to my family, my friends, the doctors, the therapists who took care of me. I owed it to Coach Beeline for him giving me the opportunity, or still honoring his commitment to me. I felt I owed it to him to do everything I possibly could to be a star in my role, to be a champion in my role. So, and like I said, maybe I didn't contribute anything. Maybe my role didn't contribute anything to the team on the court, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. Sometimes we just got to do things because it's what the team needs. So
you said a lot there, and it was really, really valuable. Let's summarize this though. We have a lot of student athletes that listen in week over week. Let's summarize it into 3 simple takeaways from your perspective of what it looks like to be a great teammate. 3 simple.
Do it, find a way. Okay, in 3, let's say, be a star in your role, whatever it is, whether you are a star of the team, whether you're the supporting cast, whether you're a manager who gets, who does the, helps the team with things from a managerial perspective, be a star in your role. Think about the team first.
Awesome. Last one.
And be a star in your role, think about the team first. And if you're grateful, be grateful for the opportunity, because if you're grateful for the opportunity to be on the team, you're probably going to do your best to be a star in your role, right? So it's I feel like almost everything, if you think about it, Manny, a lot of things come back to gratitude. If we're grateful for things, I don't want to say that, like, I don't want to feel like we should feel like we don't deserve it, but if you're just grateful, man, how lucky am I? How blessed am I to have this opportunity? Then you're probably not going to be selfish. You're probably not going to do things that bring the team down, right? If you're grateful for the opportunity to be on the team, you're going to do what you can to help. And, for the people on the listening to this, if there's people who have a role, you're questioning your role on the team or whether that role is important. I had those thoughts. I had to, because I couldn't play anymore. All I could do was unload luggage on road trips, shag balls in practice, encourage teammates, bring a positive attitude. If that didn't matter, if your role didn't matter, you probably wouldn't be on the team. So.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. And earlier you were making a comment about, why you wouldn't give your best, right? When it's really up to you. It reminded me of a time that a dear friend of mine, Ben Newman, interviewed Jerry Rice, and Jerry Rice just very simply said, and I'm not going to say it exactly, word for word, but he basically made the point, why would someone not give 100% when it's 100% their choice? And I just thought, I was like, wow, that just captured everything right there. And I really like the way that you're inferring and maybe saying that, like, your attitude and effort is a reflection of your level of gratitude for the opportunity. And so there's no doubt that, we align in that comment, and it's something that I deeply believe in. I deeply believe that a lot of our attitude and effort comes from a foundation of thankfulness and having gratitude for the opportunities we're presented with. So I really appreciate you taking us through that story. What advice would you give some of the college students today that are maybe thinking about, hey, I'm not sure I'm going to make it to the next level after collegiate sports, after the NCAA? What advice would you give them today about how to find something that they're passionate and can get purposeful around to write the next chapter in their lives the way that you have so well?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing, may seem like a bit of a tangent, but so as soon as I realized the fact that I wasn't going to be able to play sports at the level I once could, I thought, what lessons can I take away from that I can apply to the other areas of my life that I'm still able to pursue? And the dedication, the commitment, the work ethic, the persistence, the grit, right? Because when I think we can apply those lessons to any aspect of our life. That's why a lot of employers like to hire former athletes, because the mindset they've acquired by competition, by competing against other people. But I think especially athletes, most all of them, maybe not most all of them, but a lot of them have an internal drive to compete against themselves. And I think that's really important. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. We're never as good as we think we are. And there's always someone out there working. And I thought, if I'm not working on our business, if I'm not doing things right now to get better, there's someone out there who is. And since I'm not working, that person's going to win every time, right? And so I think the mindset with which we learn to approach athletics, sports, whatever you play, the mindset we acquire by working to be the best we can be, we can apply that to any other aspect of life. You know, that same the drive, dedication, commitment, persistence, that goal setting, having a vision of where you want to be, because it all starts with a vision, right? Like I know you said that before, and we're talking about now. You know, we started with that vision to play in college. You got to have the vision of playing in college when you're young. And if you can't make it, if you have the playing in pros, but you aren't, you're not able to get there, that's okay. Unfortunately, for me, my athletic career ended on June 24, 2011, and I was in the second plane crash. But that opened up more opportunity. That opened up an opportunity for me to pursue other things. And, maybe that's not a good way to say it, but if we look at adversity as opportunity, because we can look at life in general as what is taken away by an experience, by some form of adversity, what we're not able to do. I wasn't able to play at Michigan the way I wanted to. I wasn't able to have that role on the team that I wanted to. Okay. Now I have an opportunity to be the best teammate that I could be. And those lessons I learned by being a great teammate, those help me today in life, business, marriage, right? And so you just find a way to focus on the positives, even if so for the people who have the goal of playing at the next level after college, but aren't able to get there, obviously I'm sure they're disappointed, and you have the right to be. But look at it okay, I'm not going to be a pro at that, but I'm now going to be a pro at something. We're all pros at something. If you do something, if you get paid to do something, you're a pro at it, arguably. Now, I'm not saying we can all get better. I can certainly get better at what I'm doing. I'm sure you can get better at what you're doing as well. But we're all pros at something, and just choose something that you're passionate about and that you're willing to sacrifice for. Because like sports, we had to sacrifice to get to the college level, right? And you had to sacrifice. When your friends were going out partying, or when your friends were doing something else in high school, you were working on your game. You were maybe going to work on your game early in the morning before school, working out after school. So find something you love. And I know everyone says that, do what you love. Maybe that's a bit cliche, but I think the most important thing I've learned from sports is find something you're willing to sacrifice for, willing to give up other things, that you would choose this over like kind of how Coach Beeline says. Coach Beeline always saw it's a cadet prayer at West Point. One of the lines in the prayer is, Lord, help me choose the more difficult wrong, or the more difficult right over the easier wrong. And I think, sorry, I know I just said a lot there as well, but yeah, so.
No, and I really appreciate it. So tell me, let's do this as we're winding down the hour. I always enjoy taking our guests through a little bit of rapid fire. So if you're okay, I'm going to take you through that now, and I'm going to give you a couple quick questions. Let's go really tight on the answers. All right?
Okay. Sorry, I've been a little lengthy.
No, you're great. What's your favorite book that you've read in the last year?
Probably Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. It's an old one, but.
Why?
The Story of Success, the 10,000 hour rule. The 10,000 hour rule. The Beatles, the Wright brothers, everyone who is successful in anything puts in at least 10,000 hours.
I love that. What's your favorite comfort food?
Probably chicken pot pie. Probably.
Favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? Well, I haven't really thought about that one for a while. I don't know, maybe Superman.
Okay. Favorite comeback story in sports?
I'd like to think I have a pretty good one, but I think if it wasn't me, maybe Rudy. That's a good one.
I love that. I'm heading to South Bend this week for a soccer tournament for Atlas,
awesome.
And
awesome.
I'm pretty pumped up. Great. I won't lie.
Great.
Awesome. Who's your favorite sports team to watch today?
Michigan.
Which
football,
sport?
and basketball. Basketball. I like a good football game, a nice Saturday afternoon football game too.
Have you met Coach Howard?
Yeah, great guy.
One word
Great
to
guy.
describe him.
Humble.
Love it.
Servant leader. Coach Beeline said the great leaders lead by serving others first, because they've shown that they genuinely care about those they're leading.
I love that. That's great. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to over the next 5 years of your life with Abby?
If we're blessed with children, which hopefully we will, I always say it's not really in our control, but we would love it, because my dad and I were best friends. He was everything to me. He was my world. And, unfortunately I lost him, but I'm excited to share the lessons that I learned from him hopefully with our children someday.
Is there another chapter in your business life? And if so, what is that?
Yes, there's always another chapter. Maybe we're past the introduction. Maybe we're in chapter 1 of our business. Chapter 2, we're pretty good right now. We're doing pretty well and providing a lot of value. But chapter 2 is good to great.
I love it. Great,
Yeah.
Unbelievable book. Where can people find you, Austin? If they want to reach out to you to just hear more about your story, if they want to reach out to you to have you come out and speak to their teams or to their companies, if they want to reach out to you to just get connected, where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a good way. That works. I'm in the stages of building a website. Hopefully that'll be done, probably by the end of the summer, early fall. And once I get that, I'll make sure that's publicly available to people. But yeah, I'd probably say LinkedIn is the best way, because I have, my email is on there, and you can follow me and then we can communicate that way, and maybe have a phone call too. So yeah, would love to speak. Would be honored to speak if it would add value to any and all organizations across the country.
Gang, so there you have it. Austin Hatch, live. Successful business person, entrepreneur, inspirational speaker to teams, companies, small and large organizations. He's speaking to our firm next month in the month of August to kick off our speaker series for the entire month. Austin, it was an absolute pleasure to be with you. Please send my very best and my gratitude to Abby for giving her to us for an hour while you're away with family up north at Burt Lake. And as always, gang, vision, hustle, grit, and gratitude. We think it's a simple recipe to success. And when applied with enough unflinching and intense activity towards those 4 disciplines, we believe it's really what sets apart the 1% of the top 1%. And so until next time, thanks and keep at it.
Thank you guys very much.
For more insights from top performers in sports and business, be sure to subscribe to Vision, Hustle, Grit, and Gratitude wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at Vision, Hustle, Grit, and Gratitude. Until next time, keep doing great things.